Sometimes some of the best stuff in the game only happens after you beat it. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 insane things you unlock only after finishing the game. Starting off with number 10, it's Grand Theft Auto 5's Mrs. Phillips. We'll start off with a small but absolutely crazy one, the Mrs. Phillips mission from Grand Theft Auto 5. This Strangers and Freaks side mission only unlocks after you finish the story with Trevor alive. You'd think it would be something to tie up loose ends in the story or something, but no. It's just weird as hell. After completing the last mission, a question mark will appear in Trevor's trailer. When you go in, a cutscene will start where Trevor's totally unmentioned mother has apparently returned, and the way she treats Trevor somewhat explains how crazy the man is. She gives you a simple mission to steal a truck of painkillers, but when you return to the trailer afterwards, Trevor sees she's not there. Like maybe she was a hallucination, who knows, but at the end, it's just Trevor crying on the floor. It's a weirdly dark thing to end on, but it definitely qualifies as an insane unlock. Emphasis on insane.
Mama.
At number 9, in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, there is this huge secret hiding, and you obviously can only get it by beating the game. So, finishing the game is not the only requirement, but it is by far the most difficult part. In order to unlock the famous Mjolnir, you have to first equip all 5 pieces of Thor's armor and head to the most remote section of the map, this far off spot in the northernmost part of Norway. To get Thor's armor, you need to complete 2 major quests. One involves hunting down and killing the daughters of Lyrion, who are tough, wandering bosses that each have a piece of Thor's armor. Beat all 3, you can unlock the Legion Crypt and get a 4th piece of armor. Final piece, however, is the most difficult to get. You have to assassinate all 45 members of the Order of the Ancients, which is obviously a huge undertaking, but it's basically something you have to do to really finish the game anyway, so at least it's worth doing. With all 5 armor pieces completed and equipped, you are now worthy to lift Thors Hammer. Now you might be able to guess that the weapon is crazy strong, so it's a pretty awesome reward. It is obviously a pain to get, but it is cool as all hell. At number 8, in Final Fantasy 15, there is a flying car. Now this is a really wild one, because so much of Final Fantasy 15 is about cruising around in your car, so nobody really expected a full-blown airship to show up in the game. It's, however, a Final Fantasy tradition to include some kind of flying vehicle, but didn't seem like there was anything like that in the game, and it certainly never appears during the course of the main story. For whatever reason though, this thing only becomes available after you beat the story and load your save. You have to finish a post-game mission to unlock it, which requires you to clear out the 3 Imperial outposts on the map. The first 2, they get cleared out during the course of the story, so you really only need to deal with the last one to finish the mission. After that is done, you talk to Cindy and she somehow makes it so your car can transform into this jet thing. It's not just for fun either. Yeah, it is definitely awesome to be able to fly wherever you want now, but this thing can actually reach some previously impossible to get areas and is required to get access to some of the toughest post-game content. But even on its own, it's just a really cool reward and a very big surprise. Like we said, this thing wasn't even hinted at in the game anywhere. It was just a total shock. At number 7 is Resident Evil 4, which doesn't just have one awesome post-game edition, it's got 2. Both of them involve playing as the Resident Evil series' ubiquitous and morally ambiguous spy character. The first, Assignment, was unlocked in the original version of the game on GameCube, while Separate Ways was added in the PlayStation 2 release and has appeared in every version since then. Assignment is on its own pretty basic, but it was cool to have something else to do after you beat the game. It worked kind of more as a little bonus mode than an actual addition to the story, but it's fun that they even bothered to do something like that. Separate Ways is the real bonus though. It was an entire side campaign that tells a story that is parallel to the events of RE4. It doesn't add a lot of new areas and it's relatively short, but it did add a lot of really cool story stuff that more closely tied the events of 4 with the other games. And even though you were mostly retreading ground from the base game, Grappling Hook made it so you could go through those areas in really, really different ways. Like, it's not totally insane or anything, but it was an awesome bonus to one of the best games in the series. At number 6 is Dead Rising's Overtime mode. Yep, first time we played Dead Rising, this was a really cool surprise. The whole concept of the game is that you have 72 hours to complete your investigation into the zombie outbreak at the mall. Like, time's always moving forward, so everything you do is on the clock. And actually doing everything required to get the best ending it's pretty tough. For most of the endings of the game, nothing happens after you finish them. It's just a credit roll and you can try again. But if you manage the A ending, something different happens. After finishing the game, you unlock overtime mode, which adds a 4th day to the game. For us playing the game the first time, it was pretty mind-blowing, actually. And every future game in the series has incorporated some kind of overtime mechanic like this into the game. This isn't an easy part either. You have to collect a bunch of items in order to escape them all, and there's special forces swarming everywhere, and it can be a huge pain if you haven't really leveled up. It is thankfully considered separate from the main game mode, so it's easy to switch between the two if you're struggling. It's just cool when a game tells you, hey, this is the end, and then surprises you with more game. It's a trick that's not uncommon to see in video games, but Dead Rising was one of the more interesting implementations. At number 5, in NieR, you can actually understand the Shade's speech, and new scenes do play out. NieR is basically famous for this. It's a game where it feels like a big part of it can only be reached after finishing it at least once. NieR Automata ran with the concept and hid basically the second half of the game behind 2 playthroughs, but the original NieR actually pioneered the idea, so it's the one we're going to focus on. This game starts out really straightforward, actually. There are these monsters called Shades, and you're trying to defeat them. Further in, things get a lot more murky though, but when you finish the game, it seems like a pretty standard happy ending. But if you start up a new game plus, you'll notice some changes. It's now possible to understand what the Shades are saying, like their gibberish speech gets subtitled, and soon you realize how much of the game has you slaughtering what are essentially innocent creatures, or at least ones with sympathetic goals. On top of that, new stories play during some key story moments that reveal the story of whatever creature you're fighting. Basically, instead of being mindless monsters, they have a tragic and ultimately pointless story because of your character's actions. The whole second playthrough is a real kick in the teeth, and it goes to show how they added these little bits of context, and it totally changes the story from a pretty standard one to something much more complex and difficult. Like, it's a game where you don't get the actual story until after you beat the game. At number 4 is Bravely Default 2, The True Ending. It's a very recent one that does some pretty weird stuff with the ending. Keeping in mind, the game is mostly straightforward up till this point. Like, there isn't really any interface trickery or strange stuff going on. It's just a unique but intentionally old school RPG for the vast majority of the game. But when you get to Chapter 5 and you take on what is presumably the final boss, something really weird happens. The game ends on kind of a weird downer note, but the credits roll and that seems like that's it. If you load the game though, things have changed. For some reason, the heroes are aware that they lost one of their own in the last battle, and so they decide to do things differently. It only gets more meta from there. Like, there's actually 2 whole chapters after what seems to be the final chapter, and if you beat it, let the credits roll and put the game away, you'll probably never realize that there's a lot more game there. At number 3 in Super Mario Odyssey, you can unlock the Mushroom Kingdom from Super Mario 64. A lot of the stuff we mentioned in this list has been like bonus modes or surprising twists that get added to a game after finishing it. But with Super Mario Odyssey, it's not like some shocking thing. It's just a really great addition to an already great game, gives you a lot of fun stuff to do even after the credits roll. Mario games love to give you unlocks after you beat them. It's basically a tradition at this point. You have some kind of bonus level show up after you beat Bowser, but for us at least, the new kingdom you unlock in Odyssey is just the best. Instead of having some challenge levels and remixed maps like in a lot of other Mario games, Odyssey brings back the entire Mushroom Kingdom, loosely based off its appearance in Super Mario 64. It's a ton of fun to explore. It's filled with moons. There's tons of references and callbacks. You can also get the original polygonal Mario as a bonus costume there. And if you use it, you can enter into an area where there is like the old school Mario 64 blocky graphics. It's just great. It's a super chill bonus level all around. At number 2 in Pokemon Gold and Silver, the entire Kanto region. The first sequel to Pokemon hid one of the all-time best secrets behind finishing the game, like the entire map to the original Pokemon. The version of the game on Game Boy didn't include the entire region. It had to cut some parts due to size constraints, but with the DS re-release, they made it so pretty much the entire map is there. To get back to the area from the first game, known as the Kanto Region, you had to beat the Elite Four of the Johto region. There's an ending, there's credits, seems like that's it for the game, but the developers hid a Symphony of the Night level secret in there. If you reload the game, you get a message from Professor Elm about going to Kanto. When you get there, it's not just a place to catch some of the original Pokemon that didn't show up in the regular game, you can also go back and fight all the gym leaders from the first game, and even take on the original protagonist in the ultimate bonus fight. There's just a ton of content to add to the game, and while later Pokemon games have tried to include a lot of fun stuff after the credits, none of it have been able to surpass Gold and Silver for the amount of stuff that you can do after you beat the game. And finally, at number 1, it's Silent Hill 3's Transform costume. Like, we've talked about cool stuff or interesting stuff. Let's just focus on something that's totally insane for number 1 here. Silent Hill 3 is a spooky game. Hell, arguably the actual scariest Silent Hill game. These games have weird secrets, but most of them require a lot of additional steps to complete or are unrelated to actually finishing the game, which is interesting. But this can only be unlocked from finishing the game. After beating it on any difficulty, you get a new menu for unlocking costumes. If you input Princess Heart into the typewriter, you'll unlock the Transform costume, which is unique because it's actually an item in your inventory. When you use it, well, this happens. This happens. I don't know what to say. Heather becomes Princess Heart in a parody of the Sailor Moon transformation sequence, and it is exactly as awkward as you would expect. Combining the realistic and creepy world of Silent Hill with something as cartoonish as Sailor Moon is so weird that it's actually kind of incredible. As far as insane secrets go, this is low-key one of the best in the entire series, and this is a series where one of the endings shows that a dog actually did it. But that's all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first, of course, is a subscription. So click subscribe. Don't forget to enable all notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter @FalconTheHero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.